Who should replace Dennis Allen as the Saints head coach? Who would I hire as the next Saints coach after firing Dennis Allen? Ladies and gentlemen, in this video today, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to kind of tell you exactly who I would pick to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints, and why. Now, there's going to be a lot of names that are going to get thrown out there. There's going to be a lot of videos in the next coming months of people saying top 5. I can already see Trace from Chat Sports right now with his top 10 list of who should be the next Saints head coach. You're going to hear a lot about it. So I want to get in front of it, and I want to go ahead and throw this name out there, and I want to talk about some options of other people who are getting tossed out there and why they are feasible or not. All right, so my pick for the next Saints head coach, what I would do, because a lot of people have asked me, like, how would I fix this, right? This is how I would fix it. One, you have to here's your decision tree, okay? You fire Dennis Allen, you fire the entire defensive staff, all right? First decision, what do you do with Clint Kubiak and his offensive staff? And you can answer. This is an engaging episode, ladies and gentlemen. Get on down in the comments below. Let me know what you would do each step of the way. Now, you may say, I would promote Clint Kubiak to head coach. To that, I would say, slow down, all right? Clint Kubiak, I love him like a brother. I think he's done some good things. I am enthusiastic about what he's bringing to the Saints offense and his ideas and his vision and philosophy. Has he done enough to be promoted to the head coach of the franchise? In my opinion, hell no. No, he is not. He hasn't even proven to me that he's a good, long-term, consistent offensive coordinator. I think he can be, but I think making him the head coach is absolutely insane. Keep him as the OC. Keep that staff intact is what I would do. Give him some years to get his guys in there, continue his offense, continue learning, continue developing, and then you can go from there. But right now, I would not even entertain moving him on up. All right, next. So now you have a hole defensively, okay? Now we've already tackled this. We have kept Clint Kubiak. We have fired the head coach, and which equals firing the entire defensive staff. So you had to fill the defensive coordinator position. You had to fill the head coach position. So now you can decide, well, what do you need in a head coach? What I believe the New Orleans Saints need more than anything right now, more than anything, besides a time machine, is a culture. They do not have a culture. They do not have an identity. They have not had said culture since Sean Payton left. Really, they haven't had said culture since Drew Brees left. They've been cosplaying, whether it's Pete Carmichael or Dennis Allen or a combination of them both or whoever, has been cosplaying as Sean Payton and trying to keep that culture going. Newsflash, culture is gone. Culture is gone pecan. It's not here anymore. It's not going to be here anymore. We got to reset. So I have some concern with bringing in coordinators with a total unknown culture. Now, some coordinators, sure, some coordinators are ready to roll. They are ready to be head coaches. Sean McVay is a great example. They are ready to instill their culture. They are ready to do that. That is much more difficult for us to know without having the conversation with the coordinators. X's and O's wise, yeah, I love Ben Johnson. Sure, 100%. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think he's absolutely a genius. But his culture, I have no clue what that looks like because the Lions culture is all Dan Campbell. I have no clue what his vision for an actual franchises. I have no idea how he would handle travel, logistics, practice, like roster building, all those things. No clue. All right, no clue. A lot of people have said, what about Cliff Kingsbury? Guys, wake up, okay? Cliff Kingsbury is just the offensive version of Dennis Allen. Okay, what we don't want is a failed head coach who is proven to be a halfway decent coordinator for 30 seconds. Okay? I've also heard people say, Steve Spagnuolo. Guys, wake up. I'm filming this video at 5:30. It's way too late in the day for y'all to be asleep if y'all are staying Steve Spagnuolo. Fun fact trivia, the Saints set the record for the most yards given up in a single season. Who was the defensive coordinator of that disgusting defense? Steve Spagnuolo. My. How time can heal all wounds, huh? So Cliff Kingsbury, good coordinator, terrible head coach. We've already seen it. So my selection for the head coach would be Mike Vrabel. I think he checks every single box. Mike Vrabel is a culture builder. He is a guy who knows exactly what kind of identity his team wants. He's a locker room guy. He's a man manager. He will immediately instill his culture into the franchise. And he's a defensive guy. Mike Vrabel was a DC before he was a head coach. And if we go take a look-see at what happened, 2017, the Tennessee Titans, the year before Vrabel, were 19th in offense, 17th in defense. They fired Mike Mularkey. Next up, Mike Vrabel, defense shoots up to 3rd. Interesting how that works out. How wild is this? They had the 27th offense. Man, their offensive coordinator must suck. Ooh, it's Matt LaFleur. Wow, crazy how that works. Next season, they jump up to 10th and 12th. Next season, they jump up to 4th in offense, 24th in defense. Interesting. They're 11 and 5 or 20. I say defense, it's points against. And we've talked about this before. When you are really good, a lot of the times, you will tend to have a higher points per game allowed because you're kind of in like a preventative defense. The offense is like pushing, they're passing on every play. So it is kind of, it's not perfect to look at points for and points against, but just to give you a bit of an idea here. Goes 11 and 5, goes 12 and 5 the next year, 15th, 4, 6 against. Next year he goes 7 and 10. I believe that's when they fire him. Next year they go 6 and 11, then they fire him. That's right. Okay, so he had 2 years there at the end where he goes kind of off the rails and gets fired. Now you may say like Mike Vrabel, it's kind of lost now in what his record was like. So go ahead and guess what Mike Vrabel's head coaching record is. You don't have to guess the exact numbers, but just how many games under 500 do you think he is? Like where do you think he would be? I'll give you someone just to kind of give you like a rough idea. So Dan Quinn, when he was the head coach of the Falcons, he was 43 and 42. Okay, and Dan Quinn's entire career as a head coach, he's 49 and 44. So 5 games over 500. So where do you think Mike Vrabel would be in the plus minus? This kind of surprised me. Not going to lie. Mike Vrabel was 54 and 45. He was 10 games over 500 as a head coach. That's pretty impressive. I mean, especially for the Saints, who have Dennis Allen, who has the most losing record as a head coach in NFL history. But this is like, let's look at Cliff Kingsbury, just for poops and giggles. Let's look at Big Cliff. So Cliff Kingsbury, this is his playing days. Let's go to his coaching days. Cliff Kingsbury, boom. So Cliff Kingsbury, for example, was 28 and 37. Okay, so Cliff Kingsbury was almost 10 games under 500. So I was kind of surprised at how good Vrabel was in his time in Tennessee. I mean, obviously I knew they had this couple of years there where they were really good. He's 5 and 2, he's 2 and 3 in the playoffs, 10 games over 500 in the regular season. So he's an established culture builder. He's a winning head coach. All right. And some of you may ask, what about John Gruden? Okay. Well, John Gruden doesn't really work because he's an offensive guy. So he is not going to come in here and allow Clint Kubiak to do what he wants to do. So if you're hiring John Gruden, you're firing Kubiak, you're willing to completely switch the offense, and you have to go find a defensive coordinator. Something else that you got to remember too. The idea is also that we are shifting the roster. You're not hiring Gruden because in your mind you're thinking, oh, Gruden and Carr. We're not keeping Carr. Carr would be entering his 3rd year of a 4-year deal. We would be bad enough to fire our head coach. We're not going to keep our 34 at that time year-old quarterback on a big contract. We're going to move off of him too. So you're going to hire John Gruden to then get rid of Derek Carr? That's not going to happen. Okay? Doesn't work. But let's look at John Gruden's. What do you think? If Mike Vrabel's 10 games over 500, what do you think Gruden is? For the Raiders, he was 3 games over 500. For the Buccaneers, he was 2 games over 500. For his career, quick maths, He was 5 games over 500. Interesting. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Pretty nice here for Vrabel. Okay, now another interesting thing here for Vrabel, an interesting thing for him is why he was fired in Tennessee. Because he went 7-10 and 6-11, but he had a pretty strong track record at that point. Remember, Sean Payton went 7-9 3 straight years and didn't get fired. Okay, so it's not really the record. He got fired for a multitude of reasons. The A.J. Brown situation was a big one. He did not want to fire trade A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown got traded. Vrabel wasn't happy about it. Vrabel wanted roster control. So this is a bit of a contentious point, okay? With Mickey Loomis, it's hard to imagine any coach getting full roster control of the Saints. And we saw Bill Belichick struggle to find a job because he wants GM/roster control. Now, to what level does Vrabel want that roster control? I'm not totally sure, but in our current, normally I would say, well, that's kind of a bad situation. But right now I'm thinking, well, maybe that's actually a good situation because we've heard some serious pushback on Mickey Loomis in the front office of how they're developing players, how they're drafting players, the contracts, all that stuff. So maybe this is the time where Mickey would step back and say, and I don't mean step back as GM, but just step back and say, maybe we do need to bring in a head coach with some roster building experience. Something that these coordinators like Ben Johnson and Clint Kubiak, they don't have. They don't have that roster building experience. So as much as I love the idea of finding the next Sean McVay, I just don't think we are the franchise that needs a young offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, whatever, running the franchise. I like the fact that Vrabel can do that, which then brings you to Bill Belichick. Because the big knock on Belichick, and I know we're rocking and rolling here, but the big knock on Belichick is that he wants that control. So if he wants the control, and you're willing to give a coach the control, why wouldn't you just go get Bill Belichick? He's also a defensive coordinator. To that, I would say, Belichick is 72 years old. Okay, Vrabel is 49. If you are doing this multiple year, I would assume 3 to 5 year soft rebuild, do you want to do it with a 72-year-old coach who will be 73 at the start of the NFL season? Best case scenario is what? You have him for 2 years, 3 years max, and then you're getting away from the system that he inputs, the standards and whatnot that he inputs, and you're in the exact same situation of trying to find somebody to continue that culture that we just saw fail with Sean Payton. So Belichick, I don't think fits. And you may say, well, Belichick, roster this, roster building that. Real quick, and I'm not saying that Belichick was a bad coach. Before Tom Brady, the Patriots had a .410 winning percentage. With Tom Brady, .773. After Tom Brady, .405. And I want you to look at these draft classes because a lot of people get on Mickey Loomis for his drafts and Isaiah Foskey and Peyton Turner or whatever else. Look at this disaster from the Patriots. Okay, let's take a look at this absolute mess. Kareem Brown, Terrence Wheatley, Sean Crabble, Kevin O'Connell, Sebastian Vollmer, Brandon Tate, Dominique Easley, Brian Stork, Malcolm Brown, Jordan Richards, Janio Grissom, Antonio Garcia, Derek Rivers, Isaiah Wynn, Duke Dawson, Yanni Kahuste, Jalte Froholt. They did take Jarrett Stidham, though. Nice. Point is, not exactly a drafting genius. So I think everything lines up for Mike Vrabel. I think it makes the most sense, and he's available. This is important, too. Ben Johnson, he ain't coming to New Orleans. Ben Johnson is going to be able to pick wherever he wants to go. Why the hell would he come here? You got a salary cap jacked up team. You got a horrible roster who you're trying to rebuild. Ben Johnson's going to go somewhere else. And word on the street is he really wants his Chicago job. Just a little side note there from the boy. Vrabel available. I think Vrabel obviously wants another shot at coaching. I think Vrabel's the kind of guy to have a chip on his shoulder. Love it. I love this idea right here. I think it makes so much sense to go get him. Stabilize the franchise, build a culture, give him some roster control, let him man manage, let him set a standard. He's a winning head coach, a proven winner. That is hard to find. You get a young, proven winning head coach who has head coach experience, who has playoff experience, who has all of that experience that you need. Go get him. This is the guy. Phil's the defensive coordinator, because you may say, well, he did, those teams were kind of boring. They were just run heavy. No, remember, in this situation, we're keeping Clint Kubiak. We're keeping Andrew Janocko. So you would think we have that same innovative offense with Vrabel's defense and Vrabel's kind of man manager, locker room stuff. This is the guy right here. Michael George Vrabel, 49 years old. This is the guy. You heard it here first. Boom. Go get him, Mickey. Obviously, this can't happen until after the season, but this is who I would pick as the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Let me know in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen, who you would pick, what you thought about this, and I will see you in the next one.